Tournament Center here at PAX at the World Championships. I'm Brad David Marshall, and it is always my pleasure to be joined by former Player of the Year, Brad Nelson. And Brad, you're going to talk to us a little bit about drafting Affinity and Modern Masters.
We're gonna,
sure? Yeah, I'm sure. It's what you did, right? Ish.
Yeah, I mean, it's not an archetype that I feel that comfortable drafting, but the cards kind of came that way. And I assumed that a lot of people were going to be drafting like X color green decks. So I kind of wanted to stay away from that unless it was open.
Okay, well, let's take a look at what you had to work with here at your table. You know, this is a pretty, there's a lot of single digit numbers at this table in terms of the top players right now, the top 25 ranking.
There's a lot of people here that also crush me every single time I play them. I didn't like my table when I sat down.
So does that inform your decision at all? Does that, like, you know, you look at like a tougher table and think, you know, I'm going to go one way or another, or is it always just what the cards give you?
I mean, sometimes it's about the cards, but a lot of times when I'm at a table with a lot of strong players and I can guess their preferences in the first couple picks, I might take a higher variant strategy to like even the odds against players like Sigrist and Shahar and Paul Reitzel, Seth Manfield, like Yuya. There's so many powerful players at this draft table that I'm going to want to take something a little bit more aggressive, a little bit more my speed.
Okay. Well, let's take a look at your first pack here of Modern Masters and talk us through what you were thinking about in this pack. I mean, there's a couple cards that sort of leap out to me. I mean, I love Spike Bellows and, you know, Thief of Hope and all sorts of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, Spike Bellows is probably the best card in this pack, and everything else is kind of needed for a certain archetype. But Ardent Sphinx is actually one of these cards that, if I can be the Affinity deck, it's very powerful. Also, people don't tend to start blue because it is the worst color, and that might be one of the best blue cards outside of like Cryptic Command, but most decks never really can use them unless you're in an artifact deck. So I had a tough time between Spike Bellows and Ardent Sphinx, but again, I looked to the right of my draft, and I thought that those players might end up in the 5-color green deck, and I don't really like Spike Bellows outside of them.
Okay, we see Ardent Sphinx is the pick. So let's go on to what you get past. Yeah. And now, what are you looking at here, and what signals are maybe you taking away from what gets past you?
All right, well, the biggest signal is the Axe. It's the most powerful card. It's a colorless effect. It's great in the Affinity deck, also good in other archetypes. Sigil Blessing is something that you want to keep an eye on. It could potentially table, but not out of this pack, but it is one of the most powerful cards in the green-white token strategy. But outside of that, they're pretty mediocre spells. Like, I can try to will the Thoughtcast, but you don't really want that many, and usually when you're the Affinity guy, you get enough of them anyway. So it's a clear, easy Darksteel X.
Okay. Moving on, you get past now another pack. Well, there's a Cumulox, there's a a Mirror Enforcer, there's a Vapor Snag. I mean, are you committed at this point to the Affinity deck?
I mean, I'm not committed, but this pick definitely should just stay on course because there's nothing too exciting. I mean, I could take the Frog, but it's like 2 colors, and it is the most powerful card in the pack, I think. But everything else is kind of mediocre, and the Cumulox isn't like where you want to be with the Affinity deck. Like, Mirror Enforcer is much quicker, and if I start cutting and I start seeing artifact cards, maybe I'm the only one on the draft. So I end up taking.
Yeah, let's see the check mark.
Yeah.
There it is. All right. So now packs keep coming, and Glynhawk Idol seems like a great card there. So does the Alloy Mirror. What happens here?
Well, seeing the Vengeful Rebirth, it's like far and away the best card in this pack, and it's very good in a lot of strategies. That was kind of a signal that maybe I'm not supposed to be where I'm at, but I didn't see any Nest Invaders or Kozilek's Predators, and those are the cards that people are going to grab first over that. Whereas Glynhawk Idol is one of the most powerful cards because it lets you curve while attacking, and being in the air with the Affinity decks is by far better than being on the ground. So you need to get so many effects, like, you want like 6 or 7 effects that can actually attack in the air, and this is helping out the deck a lot.
Okay, so Glynhawk Idol, let's keep going, and then tell us real quick what you take out of this pack.
Well, it was really close between the Knight and the Darksteel Citadel. Like, both are very powerful in the strategy, and the Citadel can let you have really busted affinity draws, whereas the Knight can work really well with any Court Homunculus you get or any Glynhawk Idol. So I ended up taking the more powerful card for the deck.
Okay, let's take a look at how the rest of Pack 1 played out for you. You know, we just saw you take the Aethercast Knight, you get a Mirror Enforcer, a Swans, a Carapace, but not a ton of more Affinity cards and a Vapor Snag. You're heading into Pack 2, and what do we get to see?
We get to see Pluckworm, which is my favorite card in the set, and I'm somewhat regretting where I'm at because I know there's another Affinity Drafter, but I feel too pot committed to move out of it.
Okay.
Just because it is a deck that like you pretty much have to stay on course. So I end up taking the Soul Eater out of the pack and hoping that I get the Rusted Relic to table. But as I know, there's an Affinity player on the table and there's no other card for the deck.
Okay.
So I'm not going to get it.
All right, moving along. So what do we see here? Repeal, Frogmite, Chimeric Mass. What leaps out to you?
Well, the Chimeric Mass is the most powerful card in the Affinity deck, but it's not that great. It's just something that if I don't get any Darksteel Citadels, or yeah, I can like play the card early and it'll allow me to get my Affinity on and be like a small beater, much like the Frogmite, but the Chimeric Mass also is just like a late game spell, and I didn't know how anemic my deck was going to end up, so I just wanted something to just like power through plays.
Okay, and there goes the Chimeric Mass. Okay, moving along. Walk us through this pack here, quick. I mean, I assume you first pick a Blinding Soul Eater, so.
Yeah, I didn't actually take the Blinding Soul Eater. I took the 1/3, I think, mostly because like double Exalteds are very good, and I probably should have taken the Soul Eater.
Well, let's see what you took.
Yeah.
You did, yeah, you did.
Yeah, I should have taken the Blinding Soul Eater. It's a much more powerful card in the deck, but I was like worried about my curve and hoping that I could get some 1-drops that make this a very good nut draw.
Okay, keeping moving on. What's going on in here for you?
Well, I'm seeing a lot of grass, which is bad for my strategy. Hoping someone will so I can take them, but at this point I'm pretty anemic for the strategy, and I'm not seeing any of the big powerful cards. Hoping pack 3 pays off, not knowing how close the Affinity Drafter actually is to me. So I end up taking the Alloy Mirror, just hoping that maybe I could like move out of something.
All right, moving along. This is pick 5.
Yeah.
And wow, there is not really anything that's screaming out Affinity here. is this the pick? No.
It isn't. I contemplated it, but I was like, I better take a card for my sideboard.
So no
slash main deck.
Take a Vapor Snag. That's not a card you're going to start?
I will start if I have to, but only if I'm really low on removal.
Okay, let's take a look at how the rest of the pack played out for you after that Vapor Snag. You see a Tumble Magnet, Fairy Mechanist, Rune Servitor. So it looks a little better, this pack.
Yeah, I mean, I got some role players, but nothing that's busted in the archetype. And so this next pack, I really need aggressive elements.
What do you want to open here in pack 3?
I mean, an Edge Champion, obviously, but a Cranial Plating would be great, just something for the strategy.
Right, let's see what pack 3 looks like for you. There's another Chimeric Mass. There's a Sunlance.
Yeah.
There's a Repeal. Boy, this is not a great pack. Do you think about something like an Air Elemental at this point?
No.
An Air Servant?
That'll table, and I could have it in my sideboard against a deck that I really need it for. And I have a couple other flyers at this point that if I really need to get in the air, I can just put a bunch of them in my deck. But it's between Sunlance or the Mass, but I just went with the Mass just to guarantee I had enough artifacts in case I needed them.
Okay. Pick 2 here in the 3rd pack. So this is going to be your last shot. That's got to be an exciting card to see right there.
Yeah, I mean, at first I saw a 1-drop artifact, which kind of excited me, but then I saw the Dispatch, and I just need the removal spells. I need powerful ways to keep the boards clear. So this is the most affinity-based cards in a pack, which made me feel maybe the Affinity Drafter is far away from me.
Right.
So I ended up taking Dispatch, and I
Okay.
felt pretty good.
Keeping it moving along here. Pick 3. There's a Frogmite. There's a Mechanist. There's a Thoughtseize. So this is like a little lesson in pick orders here.
Yeah, I mean, it's double burst lightning too, which I felt like I was in the wrong deck at that point when I'm seeing all these red removal spells come through.
Too late to switch, huh?
Yeah, very too late to switch. Considered Splash, but I went with my theme of needing the affinity enablers, taking Frogmite, hoping Thoughtcast wills.
Okay, let's keep going on. Take a look. Gust Skimmer.
Yeah, Flyer.
Yeah.
And then the Ashmore Gouger too, which made me feel like, I mean, I didn't see a nameless inversion in the draft, but I definitely am happy with a Gust Skimmer. So.
All right. So Gust Skimmer it is, and then the last pack we're going to look at here. There's a Rune Servitor. There's a Repeal. What was the pick for you here?
The Rune Servitor was the pick, just to have cheap artifacts, and then a big elemental with so many tabling Smoke Raiders, which also was a deck that maybe was open, but.
Yeah, the Guile.
Yeah.
All right, let's take a look at what you got at the end of that 3rd pack. Nice Cryptic Command there, Spellskite.
Yeah, those were really big pickups because Spellskite can really help against a lot of the cheap interactive spells, and it blocks a lot of the Bloodthirst early starts. But the Cryptic is like exactly what I need to actually steal some games.
And then Frogmite and Thoughtseize is also very nice for you there.
Yeah.
Sort of late in the pack. So what was your grade on the deck overall?
Oh, pretty bad. I don't have a lot of the powerful cards. Like I have a Cryptic that can win me a game, some Thoughtcast, some big Chimeric Masses, but it's not a really good affinity deck. Like I have some draws I can get, but without the 1-drops, I always start on turn 2. And in the last round, as you saw, like I started with a 3-drop on turn 4. Like the draws can be pretty bad in my deck.
Okay. All right, Brad. Thanks for coming in and talking to us about Draft Infinity Modern Masters. Good games the rest of the way in the World Championship.
I'm hoping.